folks. This is District Sentinel Radio, the newscast of record for the left. I'm Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight.
We're broadcasting out of the Sentinel Fort here in Washington, D.C. Check out the website, districtsentinel.com.
Nothing like starting the week to news about hurricanes.
Oh man, it's already that time of year. It snuck up on us.
We have Hurricane Florence is bearing down hard on the eastern seaboard. Looks like it's going to hit North Carolina pretty hard. And just read what the latest is here from the National Hurricane Center on Twitter. 130-mile-an-hour winds.
Jesus. And it's still way out to sea.
It's still way out at sea.
It's expected to be a devastating storm.
It's now Category 4, which Category 5 is the highest category, is it? You're from Florida.
Yeah,
you should know
that's
this.
The highest.
And they generally speed up until they hit the land, and then they slow down.
That's true.
And in this case...
Rob Gronkowski over here, hurricane expert.
But in this case, I think the prediction is it'll be similar to what Harvey was in Houston, where it's just going to slow down and piss rain forever.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't hit you with the winds, it'll hit you with the flooding. And then after that, we have Helene and what's the Isaac?
Like Isaac, yeah.
I think Isaac are forming in the Atlantic after Florence. So this sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. Get your hurricane parties ready this weekend if you are so lucky.
Stock up on whatever it is you need.
Sam Knight was telling a story. What was this in high school where you tried to stock up on the weed but couldn't before hurricane?
Yeah, because the guy was doing mushrooms. It was bullshit. I mean, I understand, but it's like he told me it was going to happen, and then I was just stranded right before the hurricane hit. He was having a great time, though. So
yeah,
hope you had fun, Brendan.
Brendan, never forget.
Which definitely wasn't his real first name. I'm using a fake name there.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. Thanks to everyone out there who is watching on the old live stream.
Yeah, we've got some commentary. Keister saying sup.
Our faithful subscribers.
Krills,
we appreciate you.
Krill's saying, hi, Sentinel heads. Wait, what are fans of the show called?
Sentinel heads work.
I guess Luke says GM boys. Kevin says Sam is wearing a shirt with a rocket shark. This is true. There's also a cat on the shirt.
Yeah. Sam
the
wears
cat
pretty
is
good shirts. Hold on, let me remove the bug here so people can see the shirt.
Which camera should I turn at? The mouth
no,
cam?
You're fine. Just
the mouth
this
cam?
one. This one right here. The mouth cam. we gave the mouth shot earlier.
Okay, so here's the cat. Here's the cats on the shirt too. So you can all see that. And yeah, Luke is saying, I'm hoping my car doesn't flood in Brighton Beach. I'm hoping your car also doesn't flood.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want that.
But
shout out to Luke, by the way, the creator of the opening animation to our show.
Shout out to Luke, indeed.
Luke, thanks a lot. We've got some haikus coming up shortly, but first, it's Monday, September 10th, 2018. Here's the news.
The Trump administration is kicking Palestinian officials out of the U.S. Today, the State Department said it was closing the Washington office of the Palestine Liberation Organization. In a statement, department spokesperson Heather Nauert said this was because Israel might finally be investigated for war crimes. She described the decision as, quote, consistent with administration and congressional concerns with Palestinian attempts to prompt an investigation of Israel by the International Criminal Court. Yes, kick out foreign officials because of a possible war crimes trial that would embarrass your ally. The oldest trick in the book. Nauert also accused PLO leadership of having condemned a U.S. peace plan they have not yet seen and for refusing to engage with the U.S. government with respect to peace efforts and otherwise. This whining basically alludes to the fact that Palestinians are snubbing Jared Kushner's peace initiative. Since the Trump administration recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, Palestinian officials have rejected the legitimacy of U.S.-led negotiations. And speaking of Palestinian Jerusalem, yesterday the Trump administration announced it would be cutting off $25 million in aid to Palestinian hospitals in the eastern part of the city. This comes a month after the State Department said it would be cutting $200 million in aid to Palestinians. Can't believe Jared Kushner could not bring peace to the Middle East.
Yeah, incredibly surprising.
I don't know. Was that joke too obvious?
No, that joke was just fine. Fat fingered that. Go on.
In other news about the International Criminal Court, White House advisor John Bolton threatened the international body. In a speech today, Bolton lashed out at an alleged ICC investigation of U.S. war crimes in Afghanistan. As The Guardian reported, Bolton said the Trump administration would fight back in response to any investigation by sanctioning the ICC, possibly with criminal penalties for court officials. Bolton said the administration might bar ICC judges and prosecutors from the U.S., attack their financial assets in the U.S., or just straight up prosecute them in federal courts. Quote, "If the court comes after us, Israel, or other U.S. allies, we will not sit quietly." Those classic feelings when you're the human rights supporting country. Here's what Bolton had to say about anyone who even works with the ICC.
We will take note if any countries cooperate with ICC investigations of the United States and its allies, and we will remember that cooperation when setting U.S. foreign assistance, military assistance, and intelligence sharing levels.
According to a... did you have something to say there?
No, I mean, it's just spoken like a true bully on the world stage here. Again, we're referring to U.S. torturers, civilian bombing campaigns that the U.S. has been at the head of. Like, this is all stuff that the U.S. should want investigated if we were the decent country we claim to be.
According to a report on Afghanistan issued by the ICC prosecutor in 2016, the body does want to investigate not just the U.S., but a lot of parties involved in the conflict. Quote, "Crimes against humanity and war crimes by the Taliban and their affiliated Haqqani network, war crimes of torture and related ill treatment by Afghan government forces, in particular the intelligence agency and the Afghan National Police, and here's what's chafing Bolton, quote, war crimes of torture and related ill treatment by U.S. military forces and in secret detention facilities operated by the CIA, principally in the 2003 to 2004 period, although allegedly continuing in some cases until 2014. 2014! On the bright side, that means there's some bipartisanship here because Bolton is repaying Obama for looking forward and not backward on torture.
The Federal Communications Commission is relying on industry self-reporting and thus is way overestimating the number of Native Americans who have access to high-speed internet. That's the conclusion of a Government Accountability Office report released at the end of last week. Now, broadband companies are required to report connectivity issues or rates, how many people are connected, to the FCC. Based on that data, the FCC claims 35.4% of Americans residing on tribal lands lacked access to fixed broadband. That's a lot, much higher compared to the rate among all Americans, which is just 7.7%, but it's likely not high enough. The agency defines whether or not internet is available in an area on if a provider could provide services without, quote, extraordinary commitment of resources. Reading from the GAO report, FCC, quote, considers an entire block to be served if a provider reports that it does or could offer service to at least one household in the census block. This has led to a vast overestimation of internet access on tribal land, since census blocks are often geographically much bigger in those areas. The GAO also noted that when determining access, the FCC, quote, does not collect information on several factors, such as affordability, quality, and denials of service, that FCC and tribal stakeholders stated can affect the extent to which Americans living on tribal lands can access broadband services. This is sort of a big deal because these connection rates that are supposed to be published by the FCC, that's how they determine funding to expand internet access, one of the FCC's mission. So if the FCC is overestimating how many people are connected on tribal lands, then that means there's going to be fewer funding for individuals on those tribal lands. We're going to take a quick break now.
Yeah. Some shows, some content providers, or content makers, I should say, they rely on corporate sponsorship or prepackaged microwave meals to bring you that hot podcast content.
Yes, they do.
This show runs on haikus. Suppose I should have said haiku, because haikus is not a word, as we've been told.
That is true. It is not a word. It is not a word. This first one goes out to Matthew. Round up the landlords, line them up against the wall, give them all wedgies.
Thank you, Matthew. This is for Zaws. Skyrocket in flight, not an afternoon delight. Loose rocket, look out.
Thank you, Zaz. Was Elon Musk behind that thing? Come on. This is for Edging Candy Tuft. Can't handle the tweets. Mad at the owns. Good riddance. Benjamin Wittes.
Thank you, Edging Candy Tuft. Next, this is for Joseph. Welcome to Joseph. Let me take your rainbow coat. A marvelous coat.
Thank you, Joseph. This is for Zachary. Anyone ever look less cool smoking weed than Elon fucking Musk?
Thank you, Zachary. Finally, this is for Max. Mike Pence will deny, but follow the dang money. The guy won't jack it.
Thank you, Max. And thank you to all our subscribers out there watching. If you haven't heard your haiku, rest assured, it's coming up. Now, let's get back to the news.
They're still sifting through the Scott Pruitt wreckage at the EPA. On Friday, the agency's inspector general announced it's opening another review of one of Pruitt's initiatives, this one on EPA cleanup sites. Last year, Pruitt launched a task force on so-called Superfund sites. It was established to streamline the cleanup of environmental messes. To lead the task force, Pruitt appointed a banker friend of his, Albert Kelly, from his home state of Oklahoma. Just before the appointment, Kelly was banned for life from the banking industry by the FDIC, so it makes sense the EPA Inspector General would be looking into this, especially because the task force didn't keep any paper records of its work. As the AP reported in December, the EPA was sued under the Freedom of Information Act to release records on the task fund's report. In court, the EPA said that it had none. Unsurprisingly, the Inspector General noted that it didn't need any sort of tip or congressional request to launch its investigation. In their letter Friday to other EPA officials, the IG noted, quote, "This project is self-initiated." In July, Scott Pruitt finally resigned after his scandals piled up, abusing security staff to go to a fancy D.C. French restaurant, building a soundproof
We
booth.
just can't mention that enough on this show.
Building a soundproof booth in his own office, his jack-off booth.
That either.
Something we've called on this show. Questioning the integrity of scientific data, ordering agency staff to run personal errands, spending public money on fountain pens and first-class travel, renting a Capitol Hill condo from an energy industry lobbyist. Plus, he pissed off, and this is crucial, he pissed off Iowa Republicans by favoring the oil industry over the ethanol industry. Since Pruitt stepped down just 8 weeks ago, the EPA Inspector General has announced no less than 5 inquiries into Pruitt-era initiatives.
And we move on to Capitol Hill, where Speaker of the House Paul Ryan just lost a Republican member of his caucus. In a resignation letter sent Monday, Rep. Ron DeSantis noted that he is stepping down from his seat in Congress effective immediately in order to focus more attention to being a racist. No, he didn't actually say that, but he did say he was resigning from Congress in order to focus on his governor bid in Florida. DeSantis is running against Andrew Gillum, and DeSantis began his campaign with racist dog whistles, telling voters to not monkey this up by voting for Gillum, who is black. Now, something I noticed today, you can tell DeSantis wanted his resignation to be a piece of his campaign because the whole thing is devoted to how he didn't accept benefits afforded to members of Congress, and he voted against pay raises for himself because if the American people aren't getting pay raises, he shouldn't get them either. He also says in the letter that he wants to ensure that his resignation is retroactive to the start of September so that he doesn't get paid for the last week in which he wasn't on Capitol Hill to vote. So he wrote, quote, "Under these circumstances, it would be inappropriate for me to accept a salary." Okay, dude. Very cool. Congratulations. There are reportedly no plans to replace DeSantis before the election in November. This shouldn't really affect the Republican majority in Congress. They have a pretty sizable majority right now, though it could reduce the influence of the Freedom Caucus, the extremist Freedom Caucus that DeSantis is a member of. They have one less person to have leverage over legislation. Finally, today, we've got one last story to get to for you. Turns out, Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, has shot something again.
It's me, Captain, because it was bad for West Virginia. Hey, I haven't changed. I might be a few years older, but I'll still take on anyone that messes with West Virginia. Now the threat is Patrick Morrissey's lawsuit to take away health care from people with pre-existing conditions. He is just dead wrong, and that ain't going to happen. I'm Joe Manchin, and I approve this message because for me, it's all about West Virginia.
You know what Joe Manchin will never shoot?
Who? What?
A piece of paper that says good pharmaceutical policies.
No, he won't. He won't. I don't know what his deal is with just shooting shit all the time. There's a little stutter at the opening of the video clip there, but he noted how he had a previous ad in which he shot the cap and trade bill. That's what he ran on. Now he's shooting a lawsuit to Obamacare. Of course, shooting pieces of paper that have writing of something on it won't do a goddamn thing. He should shoot something worthwhile like Brett Kavanaugh.
Jesus.
No, he shouldn't. I mean, I'm not advising him to, but if he wanted to actually make an impact on something, that's what he would shoot, not a piece of paper.
It is. You're not wrong.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, FBI agents who are watching this stream and listening to this podcast.
I'm not saying he should do it. I'm just saying if he wanted to make an impact, that would do it. Shooting pieces of paper does nothing.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. All right. We've reached the end of the show. I suppose we do have someone on the caller rant line to get to. Maybe we've got some people on the YouTube. Let's check the caller rant line here first.
Hey, this is Baynard out of Chicago. So just got around to listening to the Sentinel cast from the 6th and listened to the part where from the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, I guess he was advocating for Judge Pryor, who had said some really horrible things about Roe v. Wade and such, and they didn't want those potentially incendiary things to make it into the public record. I suppose Kavanaugh should have exercised prior restraint there. Prior restraint. All right, keep doing what you're doing, guys. Thanks.
Keep doing what you're doing out there. Nice one. Prior restraint.
It's a legal pun.
Yes. Thank you to the caller. Anybody on the YouTube? Anything?
Yes, actually.
What do we got?
Thank you for prompting me. We have an answer, a possible answer to what do we call fans of this podcast?
All right.
Sam Fam.
Sam Fam. Okay, I
Sam
like that.
Fam.
I like that.
Luke says, let's call ourselves something emo as well. So there's that. Kevin X940 says, if Jonathan Chait ever loses his job on the pundit welfare circuit, the Sams should bring him on as intern Chait.
Never.
His application is going to the bottom of the pile.
We'd bring back intern Nate before we ever hired intern Chait.
Yeah. And that's about it right now for the comments that I can read on the fly right here. Sort of side-eyeing the YouTube thing.
Well,
in case you want to switch to mouth cam.
Call the rant line, 202-684-6108. I don't think they can handle the mouth cam right now. Sponsors of the show include the Congressional Dish podcast, hosted by Jen Briney. Find it at congressionaldish.com. Another sponsor, levelnews.org. Don't forget, we're still posting every day free content on District Sentinel Radio on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn, including the daily news dump. The news dump.
There were some questions about Friday. Why wasn't there a garbage can?
Garbage can is back.
Garbage can's coming back. Don't worry.
Reassure you. I was on the road this weekend. Garbage can is back at the end of the week. Newscast returns tomorrow. We're in D.C., so you don't have to be.